Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon. Stand for the silent meditation.
Would anybody like to remember anybody or speak any words before we begin our meeting?
We'll have a moment of silence. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for gathering us today. Lord, allow this council to meet in these chambers. We ask that by the power of your Spirit that you enable us to make good decisions on the behalf of the city. We just want to pray for our city, pray for the violence in our city, pray for help that we might be able to correct some of the ills in our city and that we might be a more prosperous community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our presentation today is a proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week. And
I got to do the minutes.
oh,
first.
sorry.
Approval of the minutes from the 4/20/2022 City Council meeting and bills for payment on May 6th and May 13th, 2022. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Jasmine Flores will read our proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week, actually. Thank you, Jasmine.
The whole thing, even the date? Okay, May 4th, 2022 by Ms. Allen, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski, Flores, Keys, Nelson, Troop, and Witherspoon. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that since 1985 Public Service Recognition Week has been celebrated during the first week of May, beginning on the first Sunday of the month, to honor those who serve our nation as federal, state, county, local, and tribal government employees. Today, Erie City Council is pleased to present this proclamation to all public service employees for the City of Erie. Thank you for keeping our community safe, clean, and welcoming. Whether you are patrolling our streets, fighting fires, collecting refuse, handling tax bills, processing permits, working on code enforcement, protecting our water and sewers infrastructure, solving customer complaints, engaging with people to build better relationships, doing short-term and long-term planning, or representing our community as elected officials, we value the time, efforts, and energy you put into your job. Our City Council, we have very public profiles, but we know there are numerous employees who work behind the scenes to make the City of Erie a place that we are proud to call home. Thank you again for all that you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. And we don't have a big audience today, but we do have the chief and the assistant in the back row there. So specifically, thank you. And thanks to all the administrators and who show up to help us through our work, and to Lori for being the person who has to communicate among all council members and try and keep us informed and happy in some ways. Thank you.
Do we have anybody here for a repository sale? Repository sale, repository sale. Okay, that takes us to public comments.
Public comments? I think we have Gary first.
Good morning, Council, Administration. My name is Gary Horton, 2046 East 19th Street. I'm here again this morning to illustrate a moment that I think our community is in involving our youth. And I don't think we do enough or have done enough. And I'm pleading with you to do more. It is council's responsibility, as I see it, to set policy and to appropriate the people's money, to say how it's going to be spent. And you have invested $15 million of ARP money into the Redevelopment Authority and housing, and almost another $15 million to police. That's almost half of what you have allocated for ARP. The purpose of to mitigate the COVID impact on those most disproportionately impacted by it. We have a serious problem in our community today that somehow people think all youth are bad. All youth are not bad. All youth are not bad. We cannot have a police-only or a police-led approach only. We've got to balance that and invest in organizations and youth in the majority of our community. Just the moment we're in. Erie Community Foundation has $400 million. Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority has money. If the city took its investment and set a policy and said, like you're saying, hey, come on, join the Unified Erie program, join the youth investment program, invest in youth, invest in families who have good kids that are not enough to do. Look at the investment you've made, and if you can search your heart and think that's enough for the moment we're in, school's not even out yet, I think we can do more. I know we can do more. I know you can provide the leadership to do that. Now, I know you don't particularly listen to me because we've been here before talking about civilian review boards, community benefit agreements, and as representatives of the people, I don't see it discussed in here, put on the table, or voted on. And all of you who campaigned said, I'm for CBAs. But where is the resolution? Where's the discussion? Where's the call to the business community to join us in giving the community the hope and the support that they deserve today? Not just economic development, business development, rehabbing houses, but investment in our people. You have an opportunity to do that with ARP money. My plea to you is to do that while you have the time. I'm 70 years old. I'm not looking for a job. Many of you say, when you going to retire? When you going to sit down? Look how full it is. I can't sit down. I can't quit. Our youth need us. Our families need us. And you have an opportunity to lead. I plead with you to do that, to invest in our youth, to find a way to do it, to challenge the business community and the foundation of the community, to match or double your investment. If not now, when? If not now, when? If not you, who? Thank you for listening.
This is Freda Tepfer. You can hear me, okay. 1738 West 23rd Street, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16502. I have a few things. I would like to be able to look at the agenda and have a way to go to the website and access the description of the project. What is the Growing Greener project? What are the anchor buildings that you're spending all that money on? There's no place for me to access that on the website, but I bet the council members have a way to access that. Please provide information about the projects that are being put out for review or discussion or approval at the council meeting. on the repository sales, on the county council agenda, yesterday, there were 2 sales, I think in the 30s on German Street, that the same person was buying, and I don't even know if the person lives in Erie, and they were going to put trailers rent on that property. Perhaps you were aware of that before you approved it, but I want to just confirm that that kind of information is available before you vote on a project. Is that actually a consistent land use with the zoning? Is that a desirable thing to do with such a property, to put a trailer for rental on a residential property? About the zip line at the bayfront, I had not been aware of the fact that there's going to be noise from the zip line, especially as this one is going to have a mechanical component to it. Have you identified how much noise there is going to be from that zip line? And I just, the idea that I'm going to be walking on Front Street or by the bayfront and there's going to be screaming kids and stuff, this is not my bayfront experience. Is this how we are treating our primary resource and forcing people to have to deal with this kind of Disneyland thing that we're turning our bayfront into? But as I've discussed with Council Member Nelson, yes, there should be a continuous sidewalk from State Street all the way to the end of Scott's property. And if he can work out a way to do it all the way to the library with the library concurrence, that would be good. It is not inconsistent. It is not unusual for the city to require the construction of the sidewalk, even if there's not continuous sidewalk all along on the other side. And that sidewalk should connect from the south side to the north side with a crosswalk that is signed. And ideally, with all the money going into library remodel, and there should be 2 more signed continuous crosswalks. There's only one that goes all the way through that's signed, and there are 2 other crosswalks along the library to their parking lot, but they don't have markings in the street. And sidewalk issues. Closures of sidewalks are frequently not properly signed. They do not warn pedestrians of approaching closures, and they do not have appropriate detectable warning. Construction equipment is left indefinitely on sidewalks, like I've been currently seeing on 18th and Liberty. Sidewalk closures should be spelled out in the application for a construction permit. Applicants should state how long sidewalk closure will be in place, why it will be necessary, how it will be signed, how they have explored other options to provide alternative access, have they worked with the city to put a sidewalk bypass in the street or an overhead cover like was done by the Warner Theater. Sidewalk closures should be exceptional, not the rule. And actually what is happening when the developer gets to do a sidewalk closure, they're often using it as a staging, storage, and parking area. They should have to pay a fee for what is currently the free use of city sidewalks and a loss of safety and access to residents. The fee should reflect the length of time the sidewalk remains closed, and it should help pay for inspection. Priority should be made to provide safe alternative access. One of the few good things that I agree with that Erie Downtown Development Corporation has been doing. But there are so many places that are currently under construction, their signage is not adequate. Thank you.
Thanks, Freda. Frank, is there anyone else online? Anybody else in the audience for public comment?
How you doing? Excuse me. How you doing? My name is Tawan Taylor. They call me Mr. T. Good morning. Just want 843 East 6th Street, Erie, PA. I just wanted to touch on a few things real quick. I took a bunch of kids to a county council meeting yesterday, and to tell you the truth, this is interesting. Okay, the kids, we learning a lot together. Yesterday wasn't a good day for us, though. When I write letters to people, or our organization, Career and Dreams, writes letters to organizations, or we try to get sponsorships, or we try to partner or collab, I don't normally write the letters. I have them write the letters so they can learn. So we got this big thing on student government coming in. So we go down, and one of the main things they said when we get our reports back is you're a new organization, so new organizations fall behind when you have to team up with longer entities, people that have been out for a while and doing it. So we're like, okay, so we just got to team up or work harder. So that's what I teach the kids. You know, if that's what's going on, we have to teach them what's really going on. So if that's what it is, we have to team up, we have to do this, obey the law. So we go to this hearing, or this meeting yesterday, and on the agenda was new positions for, I want to say it was economic development. And it was new, like never made up. It was going to be brand new. It was like $300,000, $280,000. And we have how many economic development programs? I was just wondering. And we got kids shooting and kids with nothing to do, but we have how many? So they turn to me and say, I thought you said they don't do new things. You have to team up and collaborate. They're telling us to team up and collaborate. It's hard to explain to people, especially young minds, the laws and the way the city and the county and the government works. We have to do things together and follow the rules. And then they sit there and say, oh, but they don't. It's more important for them to have another economic development than to put money into us. That's hard. So all I'm going to say is this. I'm going to end on this. Y'all got to mean what you say and say what you mean. It's hard to tell somebody something and keep switching it up and then expect them to do what you ask them to do and believe that you're about them. That's hard. Okay? I'll just leave on that note. Food for thought. Thank you for your time.
Any other citizens to be heard? We can do our ordinances. Ordinances for final passage, Council File Number 16278, Official Ordinance Number 19/2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $229,251 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue received from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development as a grant to the Enterprise Zone Loan Revolving Fund and will be utilized for renovation costs associated with the West 8th Street Anchor Buildings project. Sponsored by Mr. Keys, seconded by Mr. Nelson, the Council File Bill Number 16278, and now known as Official File Ordinance 19/2022, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council passed Official File Ordinance 19/2022 by yeas 7, nays 0.
Lori, before we do the next two, I just am keeping in mind what Freda's question was. So just so that you know, this pending ordinance 16279 is for the, I believe, the stream bank restoration at McClellan Park. And the next one for the coastal zone management grant is for McDaniel Run. So I'm thinking that maybe for future communication, council does get memos on this, but maybe, kind of looking at Ed, maybe we could just add a phrase, Department of Environmental's Growing Greener Grant for, not today, but in the future. If there's something where we feel like we need a better, not to make it longer, but just so that people know what we're voting on, so. Okay, I'm trying to let Freda know was listening to her concerns, so thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt or delay.
Council file number 16279, official ordinance number 2020-22, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $210,720 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. Funding is from a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Growing Greener Grant. Sponsored by Mr. Nelson, seconded by Mr. Keys. The council file bill number 16279, and now known as official file ordinance 2020-22, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council passed official file ordinance 2022 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council file number 16280, official ordinance number 21-2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $37,280 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. Funding is from a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Coastal Zone Management Grant. Sponsored by Mr. Nelson, seconded by Mr. Keys. Council file bill number 16280, and now known as official file ordinance 21-2022, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council passed official file ordinance 21-2022 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council file number 16281, official ordinance 22-2022. An ordinance appropriating the sum of $90,115.67 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the construction phase of the City of Erie milling and asphalt resurfacing federal aid local routes Cherry Street PennDOT Transportation Alternatives Program Grant Agreement R22010001 MPMS 116512 ECMS 116512. Sponsored by Mr. Nelson, seconded by Mr. Keys. The council file ordinance number 16281 and known as official file ordinance 22-2022 be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council passed official file ordinance 22-2022 by yeas 7, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council file number 16282, an ordinance amending the traffic 26/1958 traffic code of the City of Erie by installation of stop signs at 2 intersections. Allen Drive and Zimmerman Road stopping at Allen, and West 20th Street and Woodrow Street stopping at Woodrow. Sponsored by Mr. Nelson, seconded by Mr. Keys. The council file ordinance number 16282, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council.
Madam President?
Yes?
On this, can we get some background information? I'm sure they test the number of cars that go by and things like that. I'd like to just see how they figured out that these signs should be put in. I'm not against them. I just want to see how they're doing it.
That's a good idea, because we have approved some other stop signs in recent council meetings, so I think
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. The more we know, the better we are.
Sure.
So, do you want me to ask Leanne for that information? Or?
Yeah, you can send it to everybody, but
Yeah,
I think we should
but
know that.
I will follow up and do that then, okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16282 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16283, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $500,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated liquid fuels tax fund balance and providing for the expenditure thereof. Sponsored by Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Ms. Flores, Council File Ordinance Number 16283, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen.
Madam President, just
Yes.
a question that on the liquid fuel tax, is there specific regulations for its use? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about liquid fuels?
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16283 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16284, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $6 million from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof from the general fund surplus and will be used to fund the City of Erie General Revolving Loan Fund, $6 million. Sponsored by Mr. Keys, seconded by Mr. Troop, that Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16284, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16284 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Madam President, this takes us to new business.
Thank you. Everybody ready for new business? One by one, or adopt the balance and do any breakouts? Separations. Pardon me, what'd you say, Ed? Move for the balance. Okay, is there a second to move the balance?
Second.
And then do I say any separations? Any separations?
Number one, just to read it into the record.
Thank you, Michael. Any other separations? Okay, Lori, we're ready to vote. We have the number one is separated.
Okay, motion and second to move the balance of the agenda. Moving the balance of the agenda. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, and Ms. Allen. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Project Review Committee approval of the following loan be formally ratified. Methodist Tower Community Partners, LP, $450,000 for a term of 20 years with a fee of $1,125. These funds have been made available through the City of Erie Residential Construction and Development Revolving Loan Fund and loan repayments. The loan will be charged against account number 362-1362-0000-4655. The interest rate is fixed at 1% per annum. A one-time loan processing fee based on 1/4 of 1% of the amount financed will be assessed to each client. The City Solicitor's Office will assist with the preparation of the loan documents for these transactions. City Council further directs the proper city officials that are authorized to sign the necessary documents and agreements effectuating the same. Discussion?
Mr. Keys?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that this was read into the record because these are ARP funds, and I think it needs to be highlighted that that the city is putting $450,000 into this project. That's all.
Any other discussion? Mr. Nelson? No, that was just a wave. Okay.
Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Resolution passes 7 yeas, nays, 0. This takes us to committee reports.
Okay, let's start. I have been doing my, left to right, right to left, start of the alphabet, bottom of the alphabet, but let's start with Mr. Troop, and then Mr. Witherspoon, and Mr. Nelson, and then we'll do Mr. Keys, Ms. Flores, and Mr. Brzezinski. Okay, so Mr. Troop?
Madam President, thank you. I just wanted to thank, I've worked with youth my entire career, so I am in agreement with those community members who want not to just look at the kids who are in trouble or doing violent crimes or things like that, who are, as I returned to Erie High School today, in that building, it gets a bad reputation sometimes, but most of the kids in that building are really good kids. And I think most of the kids in our city are really good kids. So we do want to, I'm the result of community investment myself, actually. So I do agree with that. I don't have any committee report other than that.
Thank you. Mr. Witherspoon?
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with Councilman Troop, and I know the heart that Mr. Horton expressed today, and it even goes deeper than that. I've known him and the family ever since I came to Erie over 50 years ago. And he's been involved with youth program at the beginning of the anti-poverty program, putting youth to work, creating a laundromat where the youth would run the laundromat, teaching them to be young entrepreneurs. So I know his feeling. I don't have the answer. I wish I did. I think most of Erie know I work with the youth as well. And I just don't have an answer. But we can't give up. As Mr. Horton says, he will not give up, and nor will I, regardless. And we bless Mr. T as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thanks, Mel. Chuck? Mr. Nelson?
A couple things from the contracts. That has to do with the sewer plant. And so as we get incinerator 1 back on track, it's because we just got incinerator 2. We hadn't been able to service that for a while. So that was one of the updates, is some of the stuff that keeps moving forward with sewage. I had a Water Authority meeting. The water quality report is available now. It's on the Water Authority's website. They're continuing to try to work for a more sustainable, environmental friendly way with their grass. And the water authorities across the state will be here for a conference, and our water authority is hosting and putting on they're featured in it. They're a big part of that. Wanted to take a second because we had the hearing last time, and it's not on the agenda. So we had a couple weeks to look at the zipline stuff, put in a solid amount of work to make sure that any questions that I had or that the public had brought up was available. Talked to the solicitor and found out that we can't ask a whole bunch of stuff. But I wanted to run through a few of them. Sidewalks, I was able to ask, I took a meeting, or the Scotts took a meeting with me to discuss it. Sidewalks, they already have it graded and ready to roll out. They were very impressed with some of the questions that Freda had, and then they were really excited that, because Mr. Scott's a Cornell grad and she's a Cornell grad, so he was real excited to have any contribution she had to it or opinions. The youth last time had talked about access to it, and the Scotts shared that they give tickets to the United Way community schools to go to Splash Lagoon, and that they had anticipated doing 100 tickets to do something similar with either the United Way and the community schools or the MCIC had suggested, since they were concerned about schools being able to give students access in the summers. They are installing benches around the public art on the north side of Front Street. There's a public restroom that I got to see that is going to be opened shortly. They were not sure if there would be a drinking fountain at it yet, so they talked to their designer, and the designer was unsure at that moment as well, and they told the designer to make sure that there was one. Either way, they thought that it would be good for the public. And then there were some questions about wages. So as I got a tour of their facility, there was a guy wiping the elevator on my way out, and I got to talk to some of the dishwashers. They were all making $14 an hour, which I think some of the people had suggested $15 an hour, but $14 an hour is it's a wage that I've made in the last 10 years, so I'm pretty comfortable with the questions that the public brought forward, being able to bring those directly to Scott's. They were very happy to take a meeting, and I felt like 2 weeks was plenty of time to do my homework and have any influence over my vote as far as that goes. So that's my committee report for the last couple weeks.
Mr. Keyes?
I just wanted to echo what Mr. Troop and Mr. Witherspoon and Mr. Horton has said, that there is no one solution to the problems that are plaguing our youth. What I do know is that doing nothing is unacceptable, and arresting them all is not the answer. And so we need to look at a balanced approach on how we can invest in our city and continue to invest in our youth and make sure we give the youth the best opportunity to succeed in our city. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Flores?
Hello, thank you. I have meetings coming up for my committees, so I don't have much to report at this moment, but I would like to take a moment to speak to the youth and on behalf of the youth. As a 29-year-old, I can honestly say that there's not enough for the young people in our community to do to keep them out of trouble. Not all young people have adults that are great role models. We have a bunch of people who we don't want to be anything like. So for me, to know, as somebody who started my work in the community in 2018, that we intentionally put our Erie County Prison in the neighborhood that we did in 1992, so that the neighbors that are in low residential housing, such as the Holland Project House and the residential area surrounding the prison, can get a view of the prison. For me, it's a mindset. The housing is blocked in, it's fenced in, you don't really see anything other than the prison. So for young minds to turn around time and time again and see the prison, it's kind of hard for you not to be encouraged to be a criminal. So I think that positive reinforcement is very important, and not all kids are bad. I'm the oldest of 13, and I have siblings in our grade school and in our high school, and I know that they want more stuff to do. We, as an administration in this city, longer than my life, have always prioritized the police and the department, and we are seeing what that has done. We spend most of our budget on our police yearly, and our youth is honestly showing us what that has done. It's not beneficial for us to continue to do the same things over and over. Our young people need to see that they are worth the investment and the encouragement of leaders who might not be related to them, but are willing to take the time and dedicate the kind and encouragement that we need. I had a few individuals who steered me right, and if I didn't have them, I could just imagine what my life would be like today. So I hear the young people, I see you, and I know that you guys want more. So hopefully we can continue to get you guys to come forward and speak on what you need to thrive in our community, because I'm tired of burying young people. Thank you.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yeah, I got a few things here. One of them, I'm kind of echoing what Jasmine just had to say. It's tough to look around and see young people being put into the ground. I have to talk about Mr. Horton, too. I can remember back in the days when he used to gather the kids together at the center and teach them about the importance of the vote. Remember those days, Gare? Go on the street and you had those kids going out there to register people, getting them involved in the community early. And that's one of the powers of the Hortons and the Horton family, is reaching out to those youth. So like, I echo what the other folks here said, and I'll leave it at that. I wish there was something more. It has to be done. Somehow we have to do it. The other thing, they talked about 100 tickets for the lift. It's not really a zip line. But anyway, I would like to see it as a hand up, not a hand out. I would like to see it connected with the school districts, maybe, both parochial and public, and reward the kids for grades. You know, and be up to the counselors or the assistant principals or whoever. If a young man was really struggling and he got his grades up to C's even, that's a young man or a young lady that should get a free ticket for a lift. But we've got to give them a reason to be. That's what it's all about. The more we give out as handouts, the less people even take any consideration for it. Anyway, that being said, other thing I had, Mr. Witherspoon, the great wisdom of Mr. Witherspoon, says one of the worst things and the best things that we received here is ARP money. And that's honest to goodness truth. I would like to formally request from our finance meeting, I'll give Mr. Lingenfelter another month, but maybe by the June meeting, I want to see a Erie City budget void of ARP money. Because in 3 years, I probably won't even be here in 3 years, but in 3 years, that ARP money is going to be gone. And we have to look at the real budget. We should be looking at cost-effective measures today, not saying, oh boy, we have ARP money. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for the future. Right, Mr. Keyes? It's not going to be good for the future. I'd like to make it a formal request. Can I get a second on that?
I third
it.
second.
Yeah. And I think that's all I have today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. I think that's, in addition to looking at, getting a very early jump on the budget, we should also bring the newest council members up to date on that PFM report, which gave us, obviously prepared pre-COVID, gave us a lot of ideas. Where are we at on that? What still needs to be done on that? Because that would help us guide our budget discussions. So we can do both. We can schedule that in there. In regard to, this is my committee report. I think I'm a committee of one, I'm not sure. But anyhow, the reason that we did not vote on the zip line today is because I wanted to make sure that council members had before them the documents from the zoning hearing board, which granted the variance to the Scott project. And I also asked for the application, the business that was submitted to the state for the $5 million RCAP funding that project received. So I want to make sure that this is, I wasn't going to do this today, but since Mr. Nelson brought it up, I want to read something that caught my eye in the business plan for the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant. This was submitted in April of 2017 when Mayor Sinnott was in office. So when fully completed, the Harbor Place Master Plan incorporates 2 hotels, now there's 1 hotel, so those things have changed. A parking structure and 4 acres of civic space in the form of community parks, trails, plazas, promenades, and public harborfront access. In keeping with the comprehensive plan, Harbor Place will not only include public walkways at the water's edge as required by city zoning ordinance, but also a maze of linear parks, 7 pocket parks. Let me repeat that, 7 pocket parks and a floating stage for the public to enjoy. And critically, a link to the downtown core is envisioned in the aforementioned plan. What we've been told, and we understand, things have changed, COVID changed plans, but we have been told by the landscape architect, or the surveyor for Harbor Place, that COVID has changed, so there's actually going to be more, fewer buildings and more space where you can look up. I contend that because of COVID and our own emphasis, and we're spending ARP funding on public parks elsewhere, that it's more important than ever to have public access. I'm also going to read to you from the Zoning Hearing Board meeting of July 8th, 2014. I'm going to read from the minutes. These are the findings of fact from the Zoning Hearing Board. The proposed, if you'll remember, Scott Enterprises got permission to make the hotel taller in exchange for some things. What they exchanged for was sort of vague. It ends up saying, it was vague, that it's there will be additional open space. And so we had a big kind of go-round at the public hearing about what you mean by open space. Well, open space is just that you can see the waterfront. You can see the sunset. However, in the findings of fact, this is by Mr. Weber, Mr. Weber, who is an architect. I think there's a different architect now. Mr. Weber this is finding of fact number 6. Mr. Weber was questioned extensively by the board about the public access in Harbor Place. He said that plan utilizes Front Street as a development feature where bars, restaurants, and other similar businesses will border a street and will also allow for the rear of these properties to be along the waterfront. Finding of fact, after a semicolon, the public will have access to the water and green spaces behind the development and all associated activities to the waterfront. So it does say green spaces in here, not open spaces. Why am I continuing to raise questions about this? Because words matter. If someone says something, I consider it part of my duty as an elected official to make sure that what was said in 2014, what was put into writing in 2017, that those words matter. Anyhow, I expect council will be voting on the zip line at our next meeting, which will be May 18th. A couple of other things. We have I was on the mayor's weekly briefing yesterday, and I want to let everyone know that the fact that we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting project going on right now has made an impact, because I heard discussion about bids that are going to be put out there, and actually for the security system that we have. And whoever gets that bid will be required to go through DEI training. So sometimes it's not only the words that matter, but it's making sure that we're putting into place the words that we utter. Also, in terms of the police community relationships, Michael Outlaw and I think Mike Nolan are going to be going to Virginia Beach this coming weekend, not for a beach vacation, but to meet with Virginia Beach City Council and the administration, which is looking at the strengthening police and community partnership model that's been piloted here. So, when we do good things, we can let others know. So, and I really want to thank all the council members who commented on youth and the challenges that we're facing. We have opportunities here to really make sure that we're doing the right thing. And everybody brings their lived experience, their job experience here, and we can draw on that, and also the people who have came up to the podium today to speak to us.
Madam President, I'd just like to say that through Renee, who made contact with young Yeager's mother, she has given me permission to honor her son, and his pictures will be on every T-shirt this summer for the league. And that includes the Biddy Camp as well. It'll be 2 pictures and Spider-Man. Thank you.
Mel, is there an opportunity for other people, if they would like to buy those shirts and use that money for the program or for something?
Sure, I can have additional shirts made, and but what I would like to do is get the rough draft drawing first and share it, and I'll share it online as well as here at council. And yeah, I'll get a price of what it would cost for those who are not participating in the league. Yes, I will.
And
of
when
course-
should we put on our calendar for the league to start? When do you want us there to?
I'm hoping for June 6th at one court and after the July 4th holiday, but I'll give you more information in plenty of time.
Mel, thank you. As a bereaved parent myself, I know how important those physical honorings are. It doesn't bring your child back, but it makes you remember, and it makes others, and it keeps that memory alive. Thank you. Okay, I think we go to Teresa now. Right? Am I right? Okay.
I just have a quarterly pension board meeting. It's going to be next Tuesday at 9:30. Our consultant's going to be in to discuss the first quarter and see if there's going to be any changes that we need to make. And the following council meeting, I'll have the prepared books. If anybody wants to look at them, I'll have a copy in my office. And that's it.
So, question. So is our first quarter looking like the Dow's and the NASDAQ's first quarter?
You don't really want to talk about it, I guess. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but our consultant's pretty confident that we'll just stay the course that we're on, but we're going to talk about that. So.
Ed?
I have nothing.
Renee?
Good morning, everyone. Just a few updates, and want to thank you for your vote on Methodist Towers. The project review team thought that was a really good project that's going to renovate, make much needed renovations to Methodist Towers and improve the living situation of those living there. And also, they have some vacant rooms, so this will also enable them to open those up. In terms of an ARP update, in case you get questions, I wanted to let you know that we finally got the award, most of the award letters out. We've been working on them the last 2 days for the community development initiatives and the technical assistance grants. We're trying to get those all out. We drafted most of them yesterday and just have to email them out now. As part of that, we're requesting final budgets since we didn't, we weren't able to fund most in their entirety. And then we're also working on the beneficiary agreement and hope to make the final edits on that between today and tomorrow. So as the award letters come back, then we'll send out the beneficiary agreements. And then these will work on, they will be paid through installments. So as projects are done, as staff are paid, as improvements are made, whatever it is that they applied for, then they will invoice us, just like we do for CDBG, except it'll be a little bit easier. They will invoice us, and then we'll be able to cut the checks. And so that will allow us to continually monitor the programs as well, to make sure that the funds are being expended and that we don't have any issues arising. And then as we complete that, we've also been working on the next batch of flagship ARP grants and the restaurant and entertainment venue grants. The deadline was Friday, April 29th. And so we're getting those folders ready, digital folders, and hope to get that information to the project review team this week to score and evaluate. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you more at the next meeting, but if we don't make it in time, then it'll be at the June meeting. And then on the next agenda, you'll have another ARP residential development and construction project to review that the project review team already scored and is recommending. In addition to that, I just want to let you know we've been very busy applying for congressional appropriations, federal and state grants for a lot of our projects. We also put together a youth violence prevention initiative that we're hoping to get funding for that would focus on those good kids and additional programming. You know, we do a lot of work. We've really grown the Police Athletic League program there were 30 children involved in it when the mayor came into office, and now there are over 600. But it's not enough. We want to get more kids involved. We want to have more programming. We want to expand it. You know, initially it was in one school. Now it's in all 11 schools, and it's in several of the community centers. But we want to make sure that we're expanding our outreach, increasing the number of children, increasing the programming as much as possible. So we're also looking for grants for that. We have a lot of irons in the fire and hoping some of those grants hit, and we'll have additional funding available.
Renee, when do you think the youth initiative, is there an anticipated?
Well, it was prioritized by Congressman Kelly as one of his top 15. And so now we just have to wait. It goes on the appropriations committee's docket, and they have to review it.
Okay.
So
would that be something where I wrote a letter of support for that, but would that be something where we would want to let the public know and other council members, this is this, I guess I'm not saying would that be, I'm saying could that be a case where we can let people know, you know, a brief synopsis of what we're seeking? And we do know that legislators do pay attention to constituents, so maybe we could make sure that people are emailing or writing the members of that committee to say, we really need this. I think that helps that loop of communication. So let's figure out how we can let people know about that.
Yes, and Abby sent me a bunch more grant opportunities specifically for youth outreach. So I didn't get a chance to look at those yesterday because we were working on getting those letters written, but I'm going to review those, and for a lot of those I think we could get additional letters of support to accompany our application.
Do you think we need like an ad hoc group of city council people to, you know, we had a lot of interest here in youth programming, so maybe we can put together a conduit using council members to help learn what's going on and communicate that. Let's figure that out, okay?
Sure.
How we can help you.
Sure.
Because I know what you're dealing with in terms of a lot of stuff going on. Again, I'm going to say that ARP funding. I want to let people know, when I was on that mayor's briefing the other day, rules are still coming out on that. There was a rule that came out on April 28th, and the quarterly report, I believe, was due on April 30th, according to Lisa from the Finance Department. So,
yeah.
Ed?
Just a question, is Mr. Horton involved in any of the shenanigans with the buckets of money? I mean, do you ask him what's going on? If anybody has a pulse of the community over there in Southeast Erie, it would be the Hortons.
Yes.
I just wondered, do I have an answer? Is he involved?
Yes, he's been involved. We've talked many times. We meet with the MCIC, well, usually quarterly. The last meeting got postponed, but we meet quarterly to get input from all the heads of the community centers.
Okay.
So, one question. As we, as a city, pursue other money for youth initiative plans, are there plans for youth initiatives other than with the PAL leagues that we are applying for? And then who would we use, you know, as a, you know, what organizations would we be looking to partner with in the community in order to execute those?
I haven't seen any grants that are open like that for other youth programs yet. Right now, we were looking at community policing initiatives so that we could expand that program, but I haven't seen.
And so this, nothing against the police athletically, but everyone that, when you're talking about black and brown people, a lot of them are still uncomfortable with the police. And so you're only getting a a portion, thank you, a portion of the people who go into these programs, and we need to cast a wider net if we're going to be throwing public resources at it.
Like, how about we try to find, baseball grant money, basketball grant money, like, sports that will keep these kids busy during the summertime and possibly into the fall and winter season. Like Michael Keys just said, not everyone is comfortable with the police. That's something that inherently has been taught to us to lie low and stay away from the police, and you won't have any trouble. So for you to think that all the youth are going to be encouraged is not going to happen.
Right.
But some will. I mean, my younger brother does want to become a police officer, so it's just giving them all the options.
Right. Yes, so we do have CDBG funding that we put into several different kinds of youth programming initiatives. And then we've also put ARP funding into other youth initiatives. There was $1.6 million in funding that went to youth programming out of the community development initiatives, that $2.9 million. And, in terms of Police Athletic League, I mean, yes, when that program first started, those children that were involved in the program told the officers, don't come near me and talk to me when my parents are around. That has completely changed. The relationships have changed with the children that are in the program, and the relationships have changed with their families. And we have to continue to strive to include more children and give them the opportunity to be involved. Right now, our resources are stretched, but we have 80 officers involved in that program right now when we had 6. And they get just as much out of it as the children do. So we want to offer as many alternatives as we can. We're going to go after any funding that we can go after. And Abby's keeping her eyes open. She gets updates regularly, and we're going after. We're not sleeping. We're barely sleeping, I should say. We're going after as much as we can go after. So that's why we're in this.
Madam President, I think we also have to remember, if we're saying that 8 out of 10 kids are not getting in trouble and 2 out of 10 are, I think we also have to look at like what's going on in the homes of the 8 out of 10 that are not getting in trouble. What are they getting that these other kids are not? You know what I'm saying? So I don't think programs are going to save our city. They're important. But if 8 out of 10s are not getting in trouble, what can we do more, get more in these other homes that is going on in these homes that is making these kids make better choices? So I mean, that to me is the most basic thing that can happen. I mean, programs are great, but it all starts from, what's going on in those kids' personal lives that they're getting that these kids are not. So that's one thing we also have to look at.
Mel, did you have another comment?
Just to follow up, Councilman True, it's, in my league, we start at 5 o'clock, and the older kids probably end up around 9:30 playing. But a lot of my 5 o'clock, which are my 9 and 10-year-olds, hang around until that time. It is a safe haven thus far. But it's what are they going back home to? And they have to live in that environment inside the home as well as in their immediate neighborhood. So we can protect them for 5 hours, but they have to go out and live. Many of them are female head of household. A lot are male head of household. And even if there's a male and female, if there's confrontation between the two, they still living. So they don't know where to go. And maybe that's why I get a lot of young folks. They just come and enjoy themselves, and they follow the rules that we lay down. But home is important. Programs has to be a conduit, but that home is so important. And a small part, and maybe I need to expand, but a small part of the program is counseling. We bring speakers in from time to time to talk to them. And if they don't show up for the counseling, then they don't play that particular game, and they know that. So if you don't come to the workshop, you don't shoot a jump shot. That's our theme. And a couple of young superstars tried me, and at the wrong time. It was the championship game, and I would not let them play. Okay? They ain't missed one in the last 3 years. But it is, we got to look at the home environment, because they're going to spend more time there and in their immediate community. It's tough out there. It's nothing like we grew up with. Nothing like it. Thank you, Madam President.
It's almost too profound to, you have to just take everything in of the ideas that everyone has shared here. So thank you. Renee, did we hear your entire report? Just as Renee was speaking, this is on a totally different topic, but it reminded me that Renee and I are looking at all of the boards and authorities and the openings that we will have. So, as you know, some appointments are mayoral appointments. Some boards and authorities, there is no city council appointment. Some are strictly city council. Some are county council involved, and some include even the governor. So I want to let you know that there's so much stuff that we have to do, all these deadlines, so we're going to get together after this meeting and just say, boom, 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 this is what we need to do next. And also, council, can you let me know, do you think we need a study session on the Hammermill Village project, or would you like to do it at the caucus session before we are asked to vote on that? I do have the dates that are available from Matt Good and Chris Groner for a study session. And for me right now, it looks like the best date would be like the night before the council meeting. So you can let me know when we adjourn here. The council meeting on the 18th. Yeah, we have a finance committee meeting. If you feel the need to look at those drawings, as Chris Groner explained, May 17th is what would work for me. We already have study sessions already advertised for the Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I don't want to ask anybody to come to an extra meeting the night before the council meeting. But since we've had a lot of discussion earlier in caucus about affordable housing, I'd like to hear your feedback on that. You want to let me know now, or you want to? Everybody can look at their calendars.
I just want to make sure it's not to become a project.
It's not
like a project housing, yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to see families there. I don't know what kind of housing we're even looking at right now.
Yeah, like they just said, they didn't say how many bedrooms or anything.
Okay,
Right.
so you would be interested in a study session so you could see all that, see the plans, ask questions?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Chris has all that for us. He kind of bombarded them this morning.
Okay, I'll look at my calendar again, but we do have to advertise it also, so let me look and see and maybe give two options to you, okay? And I'll let Lori know, and Renee, and Chris. Is there anything else? What am I supposed to say for the good of the order? Anything else for the good of the order? Good morning. We're adjourned.